Increase. So this award lets me know that good morning. Bonjour. Comment ça va? Et toi? Je suis magnifique. Bienvenue. Wan Ying. Bienvenita, bienvenidos, namaste, and welcome. Welcome to another exciting episode of Gem Hunter Stories. My name is Barry B. Mixon, and I am a gemological storyteller. And what I do is I take the art, science, history, and magic of gemstones, precious metals, and fine jewelry, and I put them all together into a story. What I've learned over the years is that many of the same characteristics, many of the same traits and things that we so highly value in gemstones and fine jewelry, you can find in people. So what I do is I take those stories and I use them as a template, as an inception point, as a bridge to help people, to empower people to discover the value of their own stories. As we come to the end of Women's History Month, well, at least the official end of Women's History Month, we know women's history is 365 days, but as we come to the end of this month, as always, I think about how to put it all together. And one of the things that I love about doing this show is that each week something comes to me, something becomes relevant to me, something that I become aware of that fits the topic that I want to talk about. And what's so amazing, it used to be shocking and amazing. Now it's just amazing, just how it all comes together. Thank you, Barbara. The title of this episode is The Beauty of Appreciating Value. The beauty of appreciating value. And because this month, what we were talking about, and this is the month of March, and so we were talking about aquamarine. And I got into talking about all the different types of barrels. Aquamarine is a barrel, along with emerald, heliodor, things like this. And when you look at a gemstone, what you're really looking at is the manifestation of millions of years that it took to make. These are barrels. These are 8 different types of barrels, and there's many variations within those 8, but these are the 8 main types of barrels. So when you look at a gemstone, you're looking at something that's millions of years old, something that magically came together. Beryllium, aluminum, silicate. And one of the greatest things that I have learned in studying gemology is the whole concept of value. Because value is a word that you hear all the time, but value is not about just the color, it's not about the shape, it's not about the size. It's something more. When you look at this finished aquamarine, beautiful, Santa Maria aquamarine, you're looking at the manifestation of something that happened not only just millions of years ago, not only just because beryllium is a very rare element, but for all that to come together in one brief shining moment, all of those elements, beryllium, aluminum, silicate, which is the most abundant element on Earth. And yet, all the way, although there's that type of abundance of Earth of just one, you still need the rest. You still need aluminum. You still need, and then in aquamarine, you need just a hint of iron. So when you see it, when you began to understand what it took to become what you see today, that's value. That's what value is. Value is not just something that when you really begin to understand the concept of value, value is not just something that you see or you appreciate for the moment. Value comes when you begin to appreciate everything that it took for that piece of jewelry, for that gemstone, for that precious metal to come together to create the thing that you see. All the elements, the universe had to come together to create that. White matrix was all around it, but yet within that came this beautiful gemstone. That's what that is. So the beauty of appreciating value comes in when you begin to understand that gemstone, what you see right now, started out like this. And even before you found that, you had to look for it because it's not right there. You had to be fortunate enough to see that and understand that, one, it can become this. That's what value is. Appreciating value. And when you begin to understand how value works, your life changes. Your life literally changes because you begin to see how that concept that fits in gemology, how it can fit in your life. And it's not about hocus pocus or whatever. It's literally a chemical process. It's literally something that happens on Earth, in nature, in the universe, all those things that came together, the same magic that took to make aquamarine, beryllium, aluminum, silicate, took that emerald with just a hint of chromium. And when I say a hint, I'm talking about here, imagine a million atoms, millions of atoms coming together, just the good fortune of those things to come together. And within that miracle is another miracle, chromium, that simple element, 1 million atoms of beryllium, aluminum, silicate, and just 150, 10 elements of chromium that gives it that spectacular color. So value comes when you begin to see what it took to make it. Not just the finished product, not just this beautiful morganite. Morganite is a gemstone that comes as a result of the same iron that it took to make aquamarine, is just a slightly different iron to make morganite. And what most people, the reason why appreciating value is so important is because most people don't see it. They don't understand. They just see it and go, oh, it's pretty. Oh, it's beautiful. Oh, I love it. Oh, I want to buy it. But the real value of it, the real magic of it is understanding where it came from. How was it made? How fortunate you are to have experienced a red beryl. A red beryl that, as I said in last episode, a red beryl can only be found in one place on earth, Utah of all places, the Wawa Mountains. And 200 million years ago, something happened. You had, remember the rock cycle, you had sedimentary rocks with a volcanic eruption, igneous rock, getting into the sedimentary rock, and that heat and that pressure coming together created something truly unique, something that you can find nowhere else on earth. Think about it. The whole entire planet. And yet the only place you can find that is in Utah. You can visit it, you can go there. It's on a map. Here is what happens when you have beryllium, aluminum, silicate, and it just is what it is. It is transparent. The same emerald, the same morganite, the same aquamarine that we just looked at. That's what happens when you don't have anything in it. It is what it is. Heliodor. And once you understand, not only just appreciate the value of finding of all those elements having to come together, and then you dig that element, you find that element, you find that gemstone, you dig it out of the ground, and of course it didn't look like this, so you had to polish it, you had to finish it, you had to create facets, you had to see what it could be long before it became what it is. Someone had to understand and see the beauty of it, the value of it, when it was just simply a rock laying on the ground, just there. Here's aquamarine. Look at it. Look at how the swirls, the design. Someone had to see that. Someone had to appreciate the value of what that can become. How if maybe if I did this. Maybe if I do this, then I can begin to appreciate what I am. That's what gemstones are saying. That's what gemology shows us, is how, at least it's shown me, how you can appreciate the value of someone. And it's so important to appreciate the value of that person while they're here, with us. Usually I wait to the end of the show to give you a homework assignment, but I want you to start thinking right now about that person in your life, in your home, at your office, your friend, your colleagues. What is their value to you? How have they helped change your life? What did they see in you? Those of us who have been fortunate enough to have somebody in their lives to say, hey, you could be more. I know that you came from this area. I know that you came from this neighborhood. You came from this location called Utah. And yet that person, someone, whether it be the lapidary, the gemstone cutter, or you saw the value of it. Someone saw the value in who you are. And the reason why this really touched me, I already had in my mind which direction I wanted to go, but literally, as I say to you all the time, what makes this show magical for me is that every time the universe just brings me something that just brings it all together. So literally last night at 12:15, I was just going through Facebook and I saw this, actually it was like TikTok, I think. And someone had put a post on there about a very old song called I Miss You by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. It came out in 1972. And if you never get a chance to hear that song, this show is really dedicated to you, ladies. This show is dedicated to you, not just because it's Women's History Month, because oftentimes people, men, don't appreciate your value. So when I heard the song, I remember listening to it as a 12-year-old boy thinking, oh my God, to feel that type of pain. Everybody, we new TV, movies, we always talk about the pain of what women go through. And I'm not saying that they don't go through pain, but men go through pain too. And oftentimes the pain that we go through is because we didn't appreciate the value of the person that we're with. And if you ever get a chance to listen, I challenge you to listen to this song. In fact, there's two versions. There's the short version, which is like 3 minutes and 50 seconds. And then there's the longer version. It's like 8 minutes. And in that beautifully sad and just poignant story, you hear a man telling the person that he's no longer with, that he misses her. And I had to listen to it a few times because it's I didn't want to get emotional right here, but it's not about it's not about the sadness of that he just no longer has this person, this woman in his life. But what really is sad is that he understands what he had. He understands what he is missing. The beautiful gemstone that he had in his life, and his real crime that he has to live with forever. I don't care who he meets. I don't care what happens. He will forever remember what he had. I miss you. So what came to me last night was this is a song about value. This is a song about what happens. Let me back up. This is a song that reminds us of the importance of appreciating someone in your life, appreciating that woman in your life, whether it be your mom, your aunt, your friend, your business colleague, your girlfriend, your wife, your daughter. Yeah. Appreciating her, appreciating what it took for her to become. And the beauty of it is the sooner you appreciate who she is, the sooner that you begin to listen to her story. That's why I say, and I will say until the day I die, one of the most important things that you can ever do is discover the value of your own story, of who you are. See, gemstones have an advantage. They are going to be around for thousands and millions of years, forever, as far as we're concerned. And that gemstone has that value. That gemstone is sitting in a mine or in a vein or in a river or the stream or on a mountain somewhere, and someone discovers it. And because they know what it is, they put a value to that. And they appreciate what it is. They appreciate what it has the potential to come. And unfortunately, because we don't listen to the stories of the people that we're with, the women that we men, or just people, but the stories of the women that we're with, that we're fortunate to be with, we don't get a chance to appreciate their value. And that's what Women's History Month is all about. It's not just about celebrating the women that the Harriet Tubmans and the Madame Marie Curies and all the incredible women in the world. But you can use this month. You can take this month and begin this month to understand the concept of what value is. Of what does that mean? How did you get here? And not just, of course, we have to give thanks to our moms. And that's why next month we're celebrating Mother's Day. But how did you get here? What person in your life, what woman in your life has touched you? What woman in your life has, like that element that makes that manganese, that makes a red beryl. And as I said in last show, manganese is an element that is an extremely important element in the production of steel. It's a rare element, not completely rare, but it's not a easily found element. Manganese is usually mixed up with something else. But you need that element. You need that element, just a hint, just a trace of that element to make what a red beryl is. Appreciating the beauty of appreciating the value of someone, of that person in your life, that iron, that chromium, that manganese. Who is that for you? Who is that person? And so last night, as I was listening to just the sadness, the poignant sadness of this man who is Harold Melvin, who was the singer, Harold Melvin, the Blue Notes. Those of you who are my age remembers that song. And I remember thinking to myself at 12 years old, my God, I hope I never have to experience that. I hope I never experience realizing just how much I miss somebody. And the thing that you have to understand when you really hear that song, when you really listen to the story of that song, that woman just didn't become whatever he's missing. She always was that. She always was that emerald, that aquamarine, that heliodor, that golden beryl. This is heliodor, actually. Heliodor, that red beryl, that morganite. She always was that. He missed it. He didn't see it. He didn't understand what it was. He didn't understand what he had. He didn't understand what she was in her elemental form. He might have seen it in the beginning. He might have said, "Oh, wow. Look how incredible she is." Here, just make a blank line. Look how you fill in the blank. Intelligent, tall, the way she does, the way she organizes things, the way she puts together, the way she takes care of the children, the way she takes care and deals with me. That person didn't appreciate that. That man telling that story is literally telling the story of, I miss you. There's a line in that song that is so deep when he says, I know, I won't sing it because it's totally out of my range. I know you found someone new, but I just don't know what to do. When you get to the point of recognizing what you had, some of us are going through that because that person that was in our lives is no longer in our lives. Some of us recognize that person, the value of that person, and that person is no longer with us. And then we spend years and years and years, maybe the rest of our lives, regretting singing that song of I miss you every day, knowing that person is gone forever. That person, that beautiful woman that was in my life 10, 5, 20 years ago, 20 days ago, that person that was in my life is no longer there. So when you miss them, and the question that I say to all of you is, how wonderful would it be? How beautiful would it be to live in a world where instead of waiting until the last days, instead of being in that hospital room, instead of being in that church, instead of being wherever, that you at least know that while they were here, you appreciated them. Remember, how wonderful would it be? How beautiful would it be to say to that person in your life, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for creating a space. Thank you for somehow being on the planet the same time as me. Thank you for being that rare element. I am rare as a person. There is not another Barry B. Mixon anywhere in the world, but I remember the people, the women who have been in my life, who took the time to say, you can be something more. In this way, And the beauty of appreciating value is understanding that you have that opportunity now, today. In your life, you have that opportunity to take a moment, take as much time as you want to appreciate that person in your life. Appreciate the element, to appreciate that thing that they taught you, that lesson that they showed you, that confidence that they gave you, the support, the love that they gave you. And of course, I'm talking about women, but reverse it. Reverse it. Women appreciating that man that's in your life, that loves you, that saw you when you were just, when you, let's be honest, when your hair's not done, your makeup, nothing, you just woke up in the morning, good morning. And appreciating that man that just said, good morning, sweetie. Good morning, honey. I love you. I thank you for being in my life. I thank you for loving me. I see your beauty before you became who you are. I saw your beauty, and I love each and every day that I get to see how you become more polished, how you became more faceted. I love seeing the transition, the elevation, how your story came together. Because that's what we're doing. 200 million years. That's how long it took to make that. 200 million years. We don't have that kind of time. We don't have that kind of time. We have to do it now. We have to do it as soon as possible. Your homework is to take someone to find that person, and you have somebody. I don't care if you got to call back to your old third grade science teacher, Mrs. McGillicuddy. Don't ask me where that name came from. And just say thank you. That person, the person who always treats you with just such a level of kindness at Burger King, at the toll booth, when you give that person your toll, and that person just says good morning to you. Bonjour, comment ça va? That the people who are in the caring profession, people who are caregivers. I saw a post that one of my friends and viewers, Luana Bradford, her father is going through different health challenges, and he's older, and she's a part of a caregiver network. And I thought about, I never really, because he's her daughter, or he's her father. I guess I never really thought about it, but she is a caregiver. And think about all the people who this is their profession, to give care, to appreciate someone's life while they're here. They're experiencing whatever disease, Alzheimer's, Parkinson, things like this, all the different diseases that we have, cancer, COVID. And yet there are people who choose to live their lives as a profession, to literally become living gemologists, to understand what that person was, how that person manifests, what was it about that person's life that made them interact with the light, and how it touched you. And so what I'm going to show you, I'm going to introduce you to someone who has been that for me. Someone who saw something inside of me long before I saw it myself. And I wanted to use this show to honor her. So I'll give you a chance to meet her when we come back from the other side. Um, Olga Demsky, and I think we'll have a video on this later. But Olga Demsky is a woman who, when I first joined Toastmasters, and those of you who know, I'm part of a speaking organization called Toastmasters International. I was messed up. I had so much anger and rage inside of me, PTSD, which I didn't really understand or know that I had. It was for other people. And Olga Demsky was one of these people, one of the people in my life who was that element for me. She was that person who saw something in me. She saw me, my molecular structure, who I am, who who I was, and who I could become. When I joined in 2009, I told you guys I competed in a contest. Had been in Toastmasters for 4 months. And, oh, here we go. Let's see. Let's play. Am I not hearing sound? I am not hearing sound. Okay, sorry, just some kind of technical difficulty, but that's okay because I can tell her story, and we'll get a chance that maybe during afterthoughts I'll reintroduce you to. But Olga Demsky, Olga, I met her. I didn't meet her officially. Nobody introduced me. She just created this conference. And I was going to quit Toastmasters because, it was just politics. It was a whole bunch of stuff. I just wasn't into it. And I saw this magnificent performance, this magnificent presentation that was like a Broadway play. Let's see if we can try it again. And no, it's not happening. Barbara, don't worry about it. So, let's see. It's still not coming. Am I hearing it? All right. All right. So it seemed like it's not working for some reason. So, but anyhow, Olga saw something in me. I was ready to quit Toastmasters. I was done. And I congratulated her for just showing me what it can be, what this speaking organization can be, what can it do for me? And because of just what I saw, her attention to detail, the beauty of the way she put the whole thing together, I was reinvigorated. I was empowered to continue my journey in this organization called Toastmasters. So much so that Olga and her beautiful daughter, Lisa McGee, they joined a club. They were in a club called Toast of Algonquin.
So what do you think, Olga, would be if I mean, all of us are telling stories in our lives. So tell me, and I'm sure there's lots of them, but tell me like two things that in your story, in the Olga Dembski story. In fact, what does Olga V mean? I just learned, what does the V stand for?
The V, I don't have a middle name because Ukrainians don't usually have middle names.
Okay.
So rather than having one of those split last names, you know, where my maiden name and my married name, I decided to take my maiden name and make it my middle name and my middle initial. My middle name, or excuse me, my maiden name was Vojak. So that's where the V comes from.
Wow, Olga Vojak.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Olga Dembski. Now, where was Tony? Where's Tony from originally? Tony
is actually second generation American.
Okay.
His parents were Polish.
That's what I thought. Okay.
They I think his grandfather is the one that emigrated over here, and he was a police officer up in North Chicago, and he started a whole little Polish community up there, and they built a church, and everything was centered basically around the church in North Chicago. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So they have a long history there.
Yes.
3 or 4 generations. Well, now it's even bigger than that.
Yes.
So yes.
Yes. So tell us if you had one or two things. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, just tell the audience, tell me just one or two things that you, if in the book of Olga, you know, the book of, since Olga obviously is from Ukraine, they don't need a middle name because, you know, we're Ukrainian. We don't need a middle name. All right, so we Americans, sometimes we have 3 or 4 middle names, but in Ukraine it's Olga Vojak. Okay, that's all you need. So
Yes.
in your book, tell me 2 chapters, 2 parts, 2 stories that you want people to know about you. I know this is like table topics, all right? So here we go. Contestant number 1, the only contestant. In the book of your life,
Yes.
tell us 2 stories, or at least because we only have 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay.
So in your story, the Olga Dembski story, the Olga Vojak story, tell us the story that you want everybody to remember. Go.
I had to grow up very early in my life. Being that my parents came here, I mean, it was a 6th language that they were learning because they already knew 5 before, and they came here, and it was a little difficult to learn the English language. It's not that easy. You know, the English language is not that easy. So guess who was the interpreter? Me. And it started at a very early age. I think I started interpreting for them as soon as I could read and understand English. So that started at really age 5 or 6. And I remember one of the biggest things in my life was when I was 10, my parents bought a new house. They decided they wanted their own house, and they bought a 2-story flat in the west side of Chicago. And guess who they gave the papers to read? And I'm go like, Mom and Dad, there's words in here that I don't understand. We're talking a legal document You know, I really, really, well, don't you have an attorney? Yes, we have an attorney, but we trust you. You're our daughter. You know this better than, you should know this better than they should. And we want to make sure we don't make any boo-boos. And so I did. That was my biggest homework assignment that I had at 10 years old. And I went through that paperwork and I looked everything up in a dictionary. I went to the library. It took me 2 weeks, but I did it, and I did find some errors in there, which I pointed out to my dad, and he was just ecstatic. And they did buy the house, and it was, you know, I lived there for 18 years, and it was wonderful. But that was like my initiation to adulthood at the age of 10. Yeah.
Wow. And you can see, again, look at the facets. Look how, so earlier on, I asked, how did she get to be? Her level of detail, her attention to detail. And you see that when you're looking at someone's story, it's important. Don't just look at them and say, oh, well, Olga's real good at that. She, you know, give her the job. But it's even more amazing. It's like an iceberg. What you see is just the tip, just the 10% is that 90%. It's underneath. So her training started when she was 10, even before then. Well, even before then. But imagine being 10 years old, given a legal document to buy a home. And those of you out here who have bought homes know what a nightmare that is. And you're 10 years old learning where English is not even your first language. And not only did you had to, because your parents are depending on you. Yes. And your father is not accepting anything else but excellence. Or as you said, perfection. And all these years later, look how it manifests. Yeah. Look how it manifests. That's what manifests. That's what I saw when you organized that contest, that conference. It's just that level of detail, which I didn't know. So the expression you have, did you see on my face? Is so like, yes. Wow. Yes. Yes. It's like figuring out where Superman, where Superwoman gets her power. You're like, oh, that's where you got your power from. Okay. And then you realize that you're way too old to get it yourself. So you just look at her and go, okay. Well, next lifetime. And tell us one other thing. Tell us something that you're really proud of, another accomplishment that you did. Okay,
will do. Unfortunately, I was married before, and unfortunately, that marriage failed. Okay. There were some problems with drinking and such, and unfortunately, I had to get divorced. And here I was on my own with two small children. My two boys were 3 and 4 years old at the time. And here I had been a housewife for 4 years and really did not have a college education. And here I'm thinking, how am I supposed to take care of my two sons? We had just purchased a new home for ourselves. So I didn't want to lose the home. I wanted to make sure I provided for my children. So what I did was I looked into the Money magazine. There's a publication called Money. And it just so happened to have an article in there of the 10 most lucrative jobs and which ones required a college education and which ones did not. Of course, being a doctor, a lawyer, that of course all required a degree. And there was this one computer programmer or computer analyst that did not require a degree at that time. However, it was a male-oriented profession. There were not I found out very quickly, there were not very many females in that profession. But I went in it, lock, stock, and barrel because of the fact that, hey, I was going to make good money and be able to provide for my children and be able to keep the house. So I did what I had to do in order to get into computer programming. And from that point, I progressed to an analyst, to a senior analyst, and then to a team leader, and then to a project manager. And that is how I learned how to organize, really fine tune my organizational skills. I made it from being first step computer programmer all the way up to director of information systems.
Wow.
I had 284 people that reported to me at one point in time. And I worked for a very distinguished, my last company that I worked for was a very distinguished firm. It was Ernst & Young. And they, it was a very long and tedious journey, but I made it to the top.
Wow.
My daughter.
And we're back. And that's Olga is my element. Olga is that person who, and we'll show the rest of the interview another time, but thank you, Olga, for being a part of this show. Thank you for being a part of my life, because Olga V. Dembski is my element. The person that you see today, the man that you see today, and is happened because even though there's only one Barry B. Mixon, without Olga and other people in my life, other women who have been in my life, to have added that element, that added that special thing, that added that substance and that characteristic and those thoughts and beliefs that not only that they brought to me, but they saw in me that I could be more. So I'm very happy that you've met one of the elements who helped me become the man that I am today. So again, this is the end of Women's History Month. We're close to the end of Women's History Month. I hope you enjoyed this journey that we went through with aquamarine and barrels, and just enjoying and appreciating the beautiful magic of women, not just here in the United States, but everywhere in the world. I, as a man, thank you. And I love each and every one of you, because I couldn't have done it without you. So again, my name is Barry B. Mixon. I am a gemological storyteller. And your homework today, let me remind you, is to find someone. Think back to that person, that woman that has been in your life, not just your mom. And that's wonderful. We'll celebrate her next month as well. But that woman that's in your life that you know, and remember when her story was added to your story. And because of that addition to who you are, you were able to become. You were able to interact with the light. So until I see you next week, au revoir, à te tella, voilà. Nothing has value without a story. That is the essence of Professor Barry's Science Emporium. Ladies and gentlemen, science is all around us. It is in everything that your child does. It is in everything that your child wants to be. So what I do is take their stories and incorporate it into the stories of the lessons that I want to teach in science and history. And I guarantee that at the end of the lesson, your child will either love science or have a much greater appreciation for science and history, because they will come to realize, as thousands of children have come to realize all over the world, is that at Professor Barry's Science Emporium, everything is science. I hope I have the opportunity to work with your child. Professor Barry's Science Emporium, where everything is sight.